Hey and welcome back to the channel. It's Thesketchmonkey here. This is going to be a little bit of a different video, more of a Q&A from my Instagram post about a month ago. I finally got the time to get to this and organize some questions from you. If you're not following me on Instagram, you can go and do that at Thesketchmonkey. And while I do this, I want to sketch some cars, obviously, right here. So if you want to follow along in this sketch, we're going to sketch some cars in a couple of different views. You can follow along if you want to do that while we go through some of your questions. So let's get started here with a brand new sheet of paper. And the first question is from Jason Foot. Would you prefer JDM sports slash super or luxury, I guess, cars? Well, it kind of depends on the situation, I would guess. It depends on what type of mood you're in. I think there is good cars or great cars within every category. So if you want to have a cruiser, you can find a cool cruiser, a sports car, a hypercar. I think each category has a really cool car to it. So before we go further with any questions, what I'm going to do here is make a side view so you can follow along in that, and then I'm going to make a quarter front view and a quarter rear view. Very basic, so if you're not used to sketching cars, this will probably help you out a lot, especially if you follow along in real time here. So second question is from 001_Amar. How do you earn from making sketches? Well, several ways, I guess. You could be a designer, so you can earn by sketching for a company and create products, or if you're an artist, you probably make some artwork and you earn that way as well. But the thing is, today, in today's world, there's so many possibilities for you to go at it at your own and start your own, create your own path of where you want to go with your art. And specifically, if you're an artist today, I think with YouTube and Facebook and all of the social media, you have a really an opportunity that we haven't really had before is available to everyone now. So how I earn my living is from YouTube, sponsorships there, and the ad revenue, of course, from online courses. And then I also have another business that is unrelated to design and sketching that generates an income every month. Third question here, have you ever planned to work in the movie industry as a designer? It would be cool because we don't have that would reduce the number of engineers that you have to deal with as a designer. So that would be pretty cool to do. But I don't think I'm really looking for work right now. I'm not looking to get hired by anybody since I'm doing my own thing. So it would be cool. I would probably enjoy it if I were to go back into, being employed by somebody, by a company. It would be very fun to be employed or working with the concept art department within the entertainment industry for sure, because I feel you would have a lot more free hand and a lot less regulation of what you can create. Next question is, what is the best tablet to design cars for a beginner? I've used my Wacom Intuos 3 since 2007 up until just last year. So that was what I built my career on, I would say, and that went with me all across the world from all the jobs that I had. That's the only tablet that I use. So you don't really need a bunch of expensive stuff to get started. You can just, I think you can find an Intuos 3 now, probably on eBay for 30 bucks maybe or something like that. So start with something like that just has a USB cord and plug it into the computer, and then you learn that way. It doesn't really matter what tools you have. All you need is something very simple, and then the will to, of course, get better and improve and work on your skills. What do you think of the Singer Porsche? If there's one company that does resto mods very, very well and try to create a new car but with the traditional feeling of the original, it's Singer. I'm a really big fan of those cars, and I've seen it in real life and it looks fantastic. All the details on the Singer cars just blows your mind. You can walk around the car and you find more and more details all over the car. It's just a beautiful piece of art, in my opinion. So I'm a really big fan of the Singer Porsches. How to start sketching a car from imagination. How to render it. So how you start to sketch from imagination is you need to have at least a few references in the back of your head in order to work on those and have those as references when you create something of your own. And that's basically what I'm saying is to start creating your own designs. First of all, start to copy a bunch of designs and start to sketch those down on paper. And once you have once you've sketched a bunch of different cars in different styles, you automatically kind of start to come up with ideas on what you can do with those shapes and how you can implement your own style to those designs as you go on in the sketch. You can change a couple of angles, change a couple of curves, and all of a sudden you start to come up with your own style of sketching. So what we have here is just a quick side view. We can go in and add some markers to this if we want to. We're probably going to do that later in the video, because why not? I have them all here. Probably just going to do some grayscale because that's the easiest and cleanest way of sketching, in my opinion. I just love grayscale. Not a huge color marker fan, but if that's all you have, pick up whatever you have in front of you and use that. How I can learn do car sketch like you. The thing is, it's all about practice and putting in a lot of time, and by that I mean a lot of years sketching stuff or doing stuff that you want to become better at. It's really nothing else to it. There isn't, some other shortcut that you can take to get to whatever point you want to go to faster. Because just think about it like this: if everybody wanted, could easily get whatever they want really easily, then everybody would be exactly where they are today. But the problem is, especially today with today's smartphones, is that we get so many distractions. All day, every day, we get notifications and distractions coming at us from all kinds of angles. And what that does is it doesn't allow us to think about what it is we really want to do. And also, if we know what we really want to do, you still have a bunch of thousands of distractions around you all day, every day. So if you want to become good at something, first of all, figure out what that thing is specifically. And then when you know that, and I should add that should be something that you're passionate about. It sounds like a super cliche, but it's true. It should be something that you really enjoy doing, because think about it, you're gonna be doing it for at least a few years. So and without seeing any results, basically. So if you want to keep going, work on it without seeing any results, that requires you to have some sort of passion for it. Otherwise you will give up when you work for a year and you're not seeing the results that you want. So baseline answer to that question is sketch a lot every day. Would you consider the Shelby Cobra to be one of the most beautiful cars ever? It's a beautiful car, that's for sure. It's very beautiful, and I think it's a timeless design. It's not complicated. Of all time, maybe. I mean, it's a cool looking car, but I'm not sure I can place any car as the most beautiful car of all time. That would require a lot of thinking and analysis to come up with what is a good design and what is a beautiful design. And also, I think if it's a good design and a beautiful design, it should probably stand the test of time. And in that case, I think the Shelby Cobra, it does a really good job, because it's going to be just as beautiful in 50 years from now as it was the day it was introduced. I'm looking to buy my first car. What would you recommend? If it's your first car, me personally, I would buy something, of course, not too expensive, and a manual, definitely a manual, just so you get the feeling of what it is to drive a manual car. It's just a whole different story than if you're getting started with an automatic. I think start with a manual, and then if you don't like it, you can switch to an automatic if you want to, but maybe a Miata or something like that, cheap small car. Is there a real point to anything we do, honestly? Wow, that's a deep question. You know, the thing is, the things you do, I think if you want to add some point to whatever it is you're doing, I think everybody is going to be dead in 100 years. So does it really matter that I'm sketching this car right here today? It does, but it has to affect someone else. So what you do, I think, has to affect someone else and get someone else to take some sort of action that makes the world a little bit better. And by better, I mean it makes the world maybe a little bit more productive or a little bit more happy. So if you're sitting in your basement and doing all of these things by yourself and not sharing it to the world, that I think has less point to what I'm doing right here, which is sharing with you and hopefully inspiring you to maybe create your own sketches and, you know, sharing tips on how you can do this yourself. So deep question that really got me thinking, and I love questions like this that are, you know, you have to think about for a while. But yes, of course there is point to anything we do. Not all of it probably, but you know, if you're sharing your story and your work, I think sharing is the key word here. You gotta share what you do, otherwise, you know, what's the point? How long have you been sketching is the next question. I've been sketching since, I don't remember, since for as long as I can remember. So maybe since I was 2 or 3 or something like that. I just love sketching since I was a little kid. It's just something relaxing with it, and it's something that doesn't require a lot of expensive equipment. You know, you have a pen and paper, and that's all you need to get started and to just get lost in the world of creating and sketching. Whatever you sketch, you know, I get a lot of DMs from people saying that they don't want to sketch because they don't know how to. Well, nobody knows how to do something when they're first starting out. And if you're starting out and comparing your sketches and your work, whatever it is you're writing or you're painting or whatever creative work you're doing, if you're starting out and comparing that work to Instagram people that has hundreds of thousands of followers, then you're not really set up for being motivated to do the work. So the thing is, just start to sketch and monitor your process along the way. And if you start with one sketch today and you go a year, then you will see the progress from page 1 and then page 365. Compare the two and you're gonna see how big of a difference a year actually make when you're dedicated and you commit to something on a daily basis. Next question. Thoughts on the Jeep Renegade design? The Jeep Renegade to me is one of these vehicles that Jeep had to put out for market demand and to get some of the market share from the smaller SUVs and the Kia Souls and all of these cars. They basically just had to come up with something that's probably not considered to be a real Jeep, but in order for them to get some of this market share in that segment, they had to come out with a car. It's not a great looking car, it's not a cool design or anything like that, but it's just one of those mass-produced cars. Has a car design ever grown on you? Didn't like it at first, came to appreciate it later? Yeah, it happens pretty much all the time. And that is because as soon as we see a car and we connect with a new car that we haven't seen before, we don't have any references to any other existing cars. So when some company comes out with a new design, the default feeling we have towards a car is that we don't like it because it looks strange, it's new, I haven't seen anything like this before, and I don't have any reference in the back of my head to this car. But then as it starts to, time goes by and you see it more and more, and especially when you start seeing it out on the streets, those cars usually start to grow on you. I can't remember any specific example for you, but yes, it happens pretty much every time. So what I'm gonna do now is create a 3/4 rear view here. I've done these videos before, but I think it's very important to go back to the basics sometimes and you know, hammer in the basics, because if you get the basics right, that's when you can start to experiment with whatever car designs you want. What's the best thing about being a designer? Well, being a designer, I don't think I can... Am I a designer now or not? I'm not working for a company, so what exactly is a designer? Depends on the definition of designer. But working in a company, if you enjoy working in your company, for a company, then that's great. You get a lot of freedom until you have the meetings with the engineers, of course. Then the product gets engineered and most of the sexiness of the design disappears. But I guess it is, for me, whenever I worked as a designer, was that I was able, and my sole job, basically, in all the companies that I worked with, was to just sketch concepts all day. And that was a lot of fun. So all I did was just sketching concept. I didn't care about the 3D modeling. That was not my part to do. I just sketched concept and talked with the 3D modelers, and we bounced back and forth what we wanted it to look like until we came up with a compromise that worked both engineering and cost-wise, and for the visual appeal and the function of the design. I am 19 and I want to be an automotive designer. Where should I get my bachelor's degree from? If you want to be a car designer specifically, I think the best way is to start with a bachelor's degree in industrial design, because that sets the baseline for all kinds of design directions you can go take after that. It all starts with industrial design if you want to become a designer and car designer too. So start with a industrial design degree. That's how I started too, before I got into car design and got my master's degree. I had a bachelor's degree from Sweden. And from there, I wanted to go into car design, and I did that and ended up in Italy, which I'm sure you know the story about that. Do you think you would ever do motorcycle redesigns on your channel, or stick to car designs? And this car right here needs some fixing, as you can see. We need to cut it up way sooner. So hold on with the question while I'm fixing this right here a little bit. This is what I like to call adjusting on the go. So don't care about perspective or anything like that. Just have fun and get the pen moving, and then you just adjust all the mistakes you're making on the way to the final design. So here we had the completely wrong proportions in the beginning. So I'm just adding some, shortening it, tightening it down a little bit, and reducing the width of this car. And it looks a little bit better now. Do you think you ever would do motorcycles? Yeah, I guess I did a Ducati once, but I feel like cars have more feeling in their designs, and they're more like sculptures than motorcycles. There's a lot more mass to play around with, if that makes sense. A motorcycle is just, it's kind of two-dimensional compared to a car body. And I don't know, I just enjoy cars better. Simple. The simple and quick answer to that question is, I just enjoy doing cars a lot more than motorcycles. What's your dream daily driver? Money, no object. That's a tough question. You know, daily driver, it doesn't have to do with money, really. It's about what I loved as a kid, and I still love the R129 Mercedes SL500. I think that's one of the coolest cars and most classy cars ever designed, and I will get one shortly. But that would probably be my daily driver, just a cruiser, heavy Mercedes from the era when I think Mercedes was on top, which was it came out in 89, went all the way to 2001. So that era, I would say the SL500 from 2001 with the AMG package, black. It has to be black with the AMG package. What's your recommended digital payment methods for creatives just getting started online? If you're a creative and wanted to get started online, what I would do is create courses with the knowledge that you have, that you know can help other people in your surrounding. So if you have a specific skill, and I believe that everybody has a skill that they are above the normal population, that they can teach to people who really wants to learn what that is. So create courses and find different platforms, or create your own platform and upload your courses on there. And for payment methods, not sure what that means, but I mean, those platforms have that set up for you already, so that's nothing you need to worry about. Which car company do you think is spot on with their design currently? Interesting question. I think Hyundai right now are doing very, very well when it comes to design, and they have some really cool designs that I'm interested to see come out, especially when they introduced that they were gonna integrate these pixelated lights in the front and rear in the production cars. That to me sounds very cool. I can't wait to see the production cars of that technology. In general, just the Korean companies have really, sparked to life the last decade or so. They didn't have a lot of confidence in the beginning, but I think they are really getting, having a good push behind them now, with good leadership and good, fantastic designers. So they're very creative, and if it was a company that I would, if I was be a car designer, I would definitely right now go to a Korean company, because I feel they have a lot of fun and are not tied down by a lot of bureaucracy and also history in the car design as well. Next question, what do you suggest? What tablet basically do you suggest? Same thing here. It's not about the tablet. It's about just getting whatever you can get your hands on, and that is within your budget, that you're comfortable with, and then just get started sketching. That's all that really matters. So any of these that you mentioned will work and get the job done. So it's up to you to choose that. Does sharp lines really make a good design? 2021 Elantra just ugly. Sharp lines doesn't necessarily make a good design. I don't think so. What makes a good design to me is line flow, and you know this already. I love line flow, and it's easy to mess up if you do. You could have the most fluid lines going around the car, but if they're not connected in any way, it's just not an attractive design for me. It kind of pisses me off if I see a car that has long lines and then they don't connect anywhere other on the car. For example, in the side you have a nice line, and then I want to find that line in the front somewhere or in the rear to visually connect the whole the mass of the car with those lines. So sharp lines is just a tool to creating something cool. It's not a definition of a good design. Not a question, just wanted to say I love your vids. Keep up the good work. Well, thank you. First name, last name, I really appreciate that. Which is your favorite car? Again, I would say, if I only have to pick one, it's going to be the SL500 R129. Black, black with the AMG package. That's it, a 2001 probably. Does universally good design exist, or does everybody just have their taste? From Sweden, Simon Ljungblad. I think good design depends on... It's such a complicated question, because what is design really? And where does it go over to art? So design or art or engineering, those three need to kind of blend together, and that in itself, if the product is supposed to have a purpose, if those three components, the engineering, the art, and the what did I say? I forgot what I was saying. If all those three components blend well together, then you have a good design. The functionality, of course, needs to go hand in hand with the design. And you hear this all the time, but the less design, the better. The less you need to design something for it to do what it's supposed to do, the better the design is. So I think it's kind of a question that's up there for, you know, deep thoughts and deep discussions. But that's just my short answer to that question. If you wanted to work as a designer to a company, which and why would that, which would it be? It would be the Korean companies for sure right now. The Hyundais and the Kias, probably. I think those have the least rules at the moment and are not tied down by a lot of history in their brand. They're just now starting to create their own design language, which is fantastic. And and it would be really cool to be a part of setting that, you know, initial design style for an entire company. And that's happening right now with the Korean companies. So that would be really exciting to work as a designer. So yeah, that would be my answer to that question. It would be the Korean companies. What bike do you have? It's a beauty. I have a Triumph Bonneville SE. I think it's a 2014 and I love it. It's fantastic. Why didn't you become a car designer? And if you were, why did you leave it? The reason for that is I've explained that in a couple of different videos before, but the reason was I thought I wanted to work for a company, but I realized pretty early on in my master's degree that that was not what I wanted to do. I wanted to work for myself, and it took me years to figure out how to do that. But there was just, I didn't get the right vibes from the car design industry. It's very political, and you have to kind of suck up to the companies for them to pick you. And I didn't want to bother. I didn't want to have anything. I didn't want to spend my energy doing that because it wasn't that important to me that I was gonna go down on my knees and beg for a position. So I just decided to work as a product designer instead, and that gave me a lot of experience working with different kinds of products and not just cars. And it made me see the entire process of how a product goes from initial sketch, which was what I was doing, to renders, and then of course 3D and production. So working as a car designer is probably a really cool job, but at the time I was just so tired of it, and I just didn't want to do sketch cars anymore, because that not as a job and have someone tell me what to sketch and what to do, because that's what I've been doing for a year in school. So I was just ready to move on from the car design industry and work as an industrial designer instead. So that's the short answer. But I have another video on that. I can't remember when I did it, but it was a full video on why I didn't become a car designer. What would your main complaint be about today's car design? I think you know this answer already too. It's definitely that everything looks the same, and we've reached a point where we can't style the cars anymore because we've already styled them to the point with the current package of the car that we can't. We're stuck. We need a new package, and that's coming, thankfully, with the electrification of cars. But the main complaint that I have, complaints, they can't really do anything about it really, is that cars they copy each other way too much, and I think there's a lack of originality in cars today. What markers would you recommend for a beginner? Any type of alcohol-based markers is perfect. The brand doesn't matter. Whatever alcohol-based markers you can find, just get those and start sketching. And I would start with a cool gray set, or a natural gray, or a warm gray, whatever you prefer. But just a gray set, because that means that you have the entire range of shading from black to cool gray 1 or 0.5 even, and that allows you to practice your shading techniques with just using grays instead of having a bunch of different colors, and then you need to get every single shade for that specific color. It's just easier to start with gray, if that makes sense. I know you're a car guy, but what's your favorite boat? I think those are called Willys boats, those carbon fiber stealth looking boats. Not sure that's the name of it, but it was in Top Gear in one episode when they raced the Ferrari Daytona. I'm sure everybody knows which boat I'm talking about. So that would be my favorite looking boat, I guess. What car do you drive? Have you done a redesign of it? I drive a Dodge Dart SXT 2014, and it's orange, just like these questions here. And I love that car. I used to have a Mustang GT when I was working as a designer. But I decided, since I'm taking this step now, I'm quitting my job and I'm starting on my own. I wanted to downsize and just focus on work and focus on my channel and what I'm doing right now. So I decided to downsize from the Mustang, and we bought a Dodge Dart. I wish it was a manual because I think they come in manual. But no, I have not done a redesign of it. It would be kind of cool, but we actually bought the car because I like the design of the Dodge Dart. I think it's a really tight looking small sedan, so it looks good. How often do you find your designs around social media? I love you, no homo. I don't know. I don't know how often. I mean, I never find my designs around social media unless someone tags me in it, but it doesn't really matter if someone copies stuff and, you know, throws it up on their page. It's just, in the long run, it's just not gonna matter that much, so I don't really care about that. But if you want to share some of my sketches and stuff, you're more than welcome to do that. But, you know, as always, just give a tag in the bottom or in the caption, just so I know what's going on, and that it's always fun to hear when someone appreciates your own work. I'm sure you're familiar with that as well. I have a school project. Can I mention your work? Yeah, sure. Go ahead and mention my work if you want to. No problem at all. I would be flattered if you did, actually. Okay, this is a Swedish question. It's from Samuel Lidén. Says, Tjaba, några tips att dela med dig till en industridesignstudent, hälsningar från mig i Sundsvall. So he's asking, do you have any advice for a industrial design student from my old, regards from my old college. So he's in Sundsvall. I went to Sundsvall at Mion, studying Bachelors design there. I don't know what advice you're looking for in what category, but I would say just have fun, enjoy your time there. I had a lot of fun there. I kind of miss those chill days. It was a lot of work, obviously, but it was also a lot of, you know, chilling out, and going to Kåren, which I'm sure you know of if you go at Mion, which is a chill place to just go out and have some fun at the end of the day. And also say hi to Mikael and Torsten if they're still working there. That would be fun. How many years have you been doing what you really like? So what I really like is honestly what I'm doing right now, and that is making videos. I feel like all my life I've been working towards this goal, which was to become a car designer or a designer in general and work somewhere warm next to a beach. That's all I wanted to do. And then I reached that point and I realized that that's not at all what I want to do. I don't want to work for somebody else, and I just couldn't say no to the opportunity of starting something myself. With all the opportunities and possibilities and tools that we have today with social media, you have no excuse to be stuck in a job that you don't want to do. So the answer to your question, how many years have you been doing what I really like doing? It's since I quit my job and started the YouTube channel. I've never been as happy, I would say. It sounds corny, but it just I'm excited to work, and I think that's the definition of, you know, you're doing what you're really supposed to be doing. Is if you're excited every day to just get up and see what cars are out and you know, complain about designs and stuff like that. It's just a lot of fun, and to get the feedback from you guys as well. It's also very cool, and to be able to do Q&As like this. How much horsepower does your car have? Well, it is a Dodge Dart SXT, so I have no idea. Probably 100. I think 163. I could be wrong. It's just a number that popped up in my head. Could be 163. Oh, this is from my sister. Who is your favorite sibling? Well, obviously, it's you, because you're the only one engaging with my content on IG, since nobody else cares about that. So you are my favorite sibling, so yeah, definitely. That's all for this Q&A. I have no idea how long it's been. Might have to reduce it a little bit because it's way long, and we filled up a sheet of paper here. I have no idea what we just did. I was focusing on the questions this whole time. So I would say these are probably my standard, back in my head type of cars, because these just came out without even thinking. So yeah, that's pretty interesting to think about. Anyway, thank you so much for all the questions. And if you want to be a part of it next time, follow me on Instagram at Thesketchmonkey, obviously. Thanks again for staying until the end. If you have any additional questions, you can ask them. You can ask them down below in the comments. Take care, guys. I will see you in the next video.